Thank you very much, Cora, for the generous introduction. On behalf of the Department of Social Welfare and Development and the Department of Health, please accept our warm greetings on the occasion of this symposium on using DNA to help fight child trafficking. Trafficking in persons, particularly child trafficking, victimizes the most vulnerable sectors around the world. United Nations data places the number of victims at about 2.5 million individuals annually. You could constitute these people into a small country or a moderately large city. What makes this activity even more deplorable is that it victimizes our children, robbing them of their best years and condemning them to the poorest and most pitiful conditions. The Philippines is no stranger to this scourge. Our country is mainly a source, but also a transit point and even a destination for human trafficking. Children make up a significant number of these, with estimates of upwards of 50,000 children victimized annually. Of these, only a tiny fraction are able to benefit from government intervention. Only about 1,000 cases have in fact been recorded in official DSWD data from 2006 to 2008, reflecting the reality that the bulk of incidents are not reported to the authorities. The International Justice Mission reports further that of these numbers, many are victims of trafficking within the country itself. The roots of the problem are not difficult to pinpoint. Profiles of child trafficking victims in the Philippines, compiled by such organizations as the International Justice Mission and the International Labor Organization, show that most are teenagers who come from poor families in impoverished rural communities, lured by unscrupulous individuals with promise of high-paying jobs in the cities. These children are easy prey to abuse and exploitation. They are usually not familiar with the culture and language of their destination points, have no family members or friends to turn to, and are penniless when they get there. Dependent on those who brought them to the cities usually, they will do practically anything asked of them just to survive. Some will be forced to work in sweatshops and factories. Some will become domestic helpers in urban households, while most will end up being prostituted in brothels. Poverty and underdevelopment in the countryside, coupled with the ease of travel within our national borders and even outside, fuel the growth of this illegal trade. The pressing need to stop child trafficking is not lost on the Philippine government, whose plan is anchored on the four-pronged thrust of prevention, prosecution, protection, recovery, and reintegration. Not only are we working to prevent new cases of child trafficking, but we are also putting a premium on successfully arresting and jailing perpetrators and taking care of those who have already been victimized through such interventions as temporary shelter assistance, medical and psychological services, and livelihood and recovery projects. The hallmark of these efforts have been the successful passage of laws for the purpose of combating child trafficking, most notably Republic Act 9208 or the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2003, Republic Act 7610, or the Special Protection of Children from Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act of 1992, and Republic Act 9262, or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Children Act of 2004. The support of non-governmental organizations and international agencies is valuable, if not integral, to the Philippine government's efforts. Considering the magnitude and complexity of this problem that we are facing, from spreading public awareness on trafficking, to sharing and disseminating information, to augmenting rehabilitative services offered by the government, they have fulfilled an important role, without which major inroads would not have been possible over the past few years. Yet, despite our coordinated moves to address this problem, child trafficking, in fact, human trafficking, remains a major headache for the country. As mentioned earlier, the problem is so far-reaching and complex that it would be impossible not to encounter difficulties along the way. Among the major issues facing anti-child trafficking advocates now are the consolidation of data and information on child trafficking in the Philippines, the overlapping of efforts between the different government agencies and the NGOs, and the low conviction rates for child trafficking offenders. Thus, to harmonize the collection of data and establish a more efficient monitoring and reporting system, the Interagency Council Against Trafficking launched the National Anti-Trafficking Database just last December. It is expected that this will help solve the problem of unreliable statistics in human trafficking in the country, as well as coordinate the efforts of all major stakeholders in the public and private sector to address the problem of overlapping actions. I believe that this is where our discussion on DNA technology can come to fore. The potential of forensics as applied to the legal aspect of our anti-trafficking plans is limitless, considering that this field is still in its newborn stages in the country. We welcome whatever knowledge our renowned experts may impart to us, as this will help in the prevention of trafficking and the reintegration of trafficked children to their families, as well as the prosecution and eventual penalties for perpetrators. We shall all be happy to be educated about the DNA testing and how it can support our efforts against child trafficking. Our children represent the very future of the country, and we owe it not just to them, but to ourselves and the entire Filipino nation that they lead happy and productive childhoods. The business of fighting human trafficking is thus not just the province of government, nor of specialized advocacies, but is the responsibility of each and every citizen. We have savored some triumphs along the way, but totally eliminating child trafficking remains an impossible dream. It is a joy to realize, though, that a myriad of sectors, both in the public and private spheres, have made it their mission to save and protect Filipino children. I am confident that we will yet see the day when every Filipino child will not have to live in fear of or dread of being victims of trafficking. With our collective strength of will, Nothing is impossible. Thank you once again, and good morning.